Surprise, I'm in a new room now. Okay, we're just going to continue reading. We're about halfway done. Alrighty, human impact on water quality. Human activities release contaminants such as nitrogen, salts, pesticides, metals, harmful organisms, and even medicines into the water. So those are all examples of specific types of litter and pollution that we always talk about. These are specific what we would find, such as litter. Besides people dropping garbage, these are the some additional examples. And even medicines into the water. Even everyday activities such as cleaning can add washed off dirt, oil, sewage, and cooking scraps, as well as chemicals found in soap, detergent, and other cleaning products. We actually talked about that soap from car washes. Although we think of soap as being clean, it's not completely clean because there is chemicals in it. So that getting through the drains into the water is not the best. Okay, we're here. When the human population was lower and there was no densely populated areas, natural processes and filters were able to remove the contaminants that we added. Ever since large numbers of humans started living close together in towns and cities, the amount of contaminated water produced in these areas began to overwhelm the area's natural abilities to remove contaminants. Initially, the contaminants were mostly from human and animal waste. But as human society began to include large-scale agricultural and industrial processes, many more different contaminants began to enter water. So at first, they saw human and animal poop, I'll say it. And then we noticed that the water was getting dirty from other items, just as the ones we mentioned above: nitrogen, salts, pesticides from fertilizer, metals, harmful organisms, etc. Initially, the contaminants were mostly, but as human society began to include large-scale agricultural and industrial processes, many more and different contaminants began to enter the water supply. These contaminants can make the local environment unfit for life and can cause population of some species to decline and possibly go extinct. So bad news. Personal water use is not society's biggest use of water. The two biggest uses of water are for agriculture and industry. Common agricultural water pollutants are nitrates, phosphates, disease-causing organisms, and sediments. Common industrial pollutants are various toxic metals from mining, acids from chemicals in manufacturing, petroleum products. I'm going to fast forward to and cleaning solvents. Another large human impact on our water supply is land use. The clearing, leveling, digging, draining, and otherwise changing of the landscape that occurs when we build something. So just think about back to that example from our Boomtown example of where to build the school. And we saw the wetlands change to a lake where the birds lived, to a development with a bunch of houses that turned into a neighborhood. Think of how much that changed the land. Okay, one more page. This page we're skipping. And the last page we're going to read. It's just like these two paragraphs. Mitigation of human impacts on water quality is even more challenging than monitoring. Once contaminants enter the water supply, it's difficult to remove them. They are constantly moving as they travel through the water cycle. The most effective method to improve water quality is to stop using all potentially harmful chemicals. This, however, is unrealistic. Many chemicals can become contaminants that are also useful. For example, this was one of our fertilizer ingredients. Nitrates help crops grow faster and produce more food. The next most effective method for reducing contamination is to limit the amount of contaminants that enter the water supply. This can be done by reducing the amount of chemicals used to the bare minimum needed. So when you're washing a car, not to use an entire bottle of soap that has harmful chemicals to the environment, but using a little bit. The wastewater and runoff should be, last two paragraphs, thoroughly treated so contaminants are removed before the water goes back into the environment. Big spills can usually be discovered and cleaned up, but smaller everyday spills, such as a small oil leak from your car, often end up getting into the water supply. Another way to limit contamination is by choosing appropriate land areas for development by designing buildings and minimize erosion and runoff. Mitigating human impact on the water cycle involves large-scale societal changes. Efforts to do this include reducing water use and limiting the amount of contaminants, including greenhouse gases, that are released into the water and air. This can be best done by making some sacrifices to reduce our consumption of resources and by investing in cleaner technologies that create less pollution.